expert authority world, do I have an exciting guest for you today? We have Louis Skupien on today's episode. He has the Talk 4 podcast, and he has an airsoft business for Anvil Tactical, and he's doing some extreme stuff, not just in business, but in life. He's really cool. I was just talking to him before. I said, we need to capture this on the show. And just having a zest for life, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs skip over. It's always, well, we'll talk about it. I want to get him up here. So right after we thank our sponsor, Louis Skupien. Every business needs a book, including yours. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, hailing from Bristol, England, Louis Skupien. Louis, how are you feeling today?
Oh man, I'm excited. It's been a good day. It's the evening time here in the UK, and I've had a busy one, but I've been looking forward to this. And it's always nice to put myself in the guest seat for once after hosting so many damn episodes.
Yeah, taking a break from the hosting side of it. Kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, man. It's a whole different experience, and it's nice to see how you do things. And like you said, we had a great chat just before we came on here, and I can't wait to put it to a recorded podcast, dude. I think it's going to be great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the pleasure's mine. And I can totally relate because people go, do you like hosting or guesting more? I go, it depends, because when you're a guest, you just show up and share from the heart and everything. And now I'm like, okay, what's the button? Do we have this? Is this streaming? Is this recording? It's all this, So same thing on stage. It's like I love speaking on stages when someone else running the event. So let me ask you about your show. Why'd you start it? And tell me about the extreme zest you have here for life, because just seeing what you were doing, and to further elaborate, it was also the reason I was like, he's not only seems cool, but like you're doing some big stuff and have a pretty decent following. And how? I mean, you're very down to earth and everything, but how are you combining so many different, I think that was it. How are you combining large following with down to earth with doing the exciting stuff? Because I've generally find most entrepreneurs are like really good at this, or this. Like we were talking about, we don't need to share everything, but there's certain entrepreneurs who are really good at certain things and they're complete pricks at other stuff. Or they're very good at this and they're bad at that. You seem to have found a magical way to encapsulate all of it. So please share that with us.
You got it, man. So yeah, I mean, to dig right into what you just said there, then we'll go into like how I started the podcast in a moment. But really what I've found looking at other entrepreneurs, speaking to people on my own show, and really in my own life, is that we are all dealt a hand of cards when we're born. We've all got a certain unique set of skills and a certain set of weaknesses too. And you're going to find that good entrepreneurs, they fill those gaps, those things they're not so good at, those things that maybe you're lacking at. I mean, for me, for example, tennis was my thing from 4 to about 20 years old. And something like an extreme
national
sport.
championships,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, man. So I was national champion, traveled the world, got to around 400, 500 ITF, which is the junior one, and did really well, won some tournaments out there, and played for England, won for my country, which was obviously a surreal experience. But really, the whole tennis thing rips back, the rug on what you're good at and what you're not so good at. So for me, I was a pretty sporadic, slightly, flitty guy who would go kind of like by motivation to start with. And then I had to really learn like those discipline things and that consistency side of things, and like the planning, the goal setting, that was never my thing. So that was kind of, delegated to other team guys and stuff. So I just,
You
I
started
was
at
more
4. You
focused.
could give yourself a break. But after 5, that's unacceptable.
Yeah. As soon as you've you got out the pram and your milk teeth are out, that's when life gets real, right? No, man, it was good. So like I said, really developed those unique kind of skills and found out what I was good at, what I wasn't good at from sport really at a young age. And it was only really quite recently that I started kind of putting this implementation method in this list thing that I've created, which has just absolutely bolstered my life in terms of getting stuff done that I need to get done and filling in those gaps. But in terms of the stuff that I'm doing, the podcast, like I said, I was a professional tennis player. COVID hit. This is going to be the short version. COVID hit. Lost my sponsorship, was left with a void in kind of what am I going to do now? Because I was home educated, didn't have exams, and I was kind of thinking, what am I going to do? I'm going to be sweeping streets. So I started my own business, which is obviously a longer process than just saying that in one sentence. But yeah, I started my own first business, did really well with it, and then I found that
the first one you did.
My first one was Anvil. So that was Anvil Tactical, and as we kind of mentioned, really just before we came on the show, both fans of airsoft, right? So I'd been a fan of airsoft since a kid. I mean, it ties back to the tennis days. My mum and dad would, blackmail / bargain me to do well in talent ID camps and tournaments with the promise of a BB gun at the end of it. So I was a fan of it as a kid, and I knew it was something I wanted to do stuff in the future, and I certainly did just that.
Yeah, I may or may not have had friends over in. Well, one, you can ask my mom if I may have used plants as aiming targets, and there was holes all over the house in the plants. And actually, one of my good friends from high school who is on our team, who I appreciate, April, if you hear this, I know you were there for the party when we had people, and we thought it was a good idea to shoot from the second floor down to the first. But I, being the smart person I was like, let's not make a mess. Let's fill a Rubbermaid container with water, because the water was going to break the speed, you know? It didn't. All that happened was the airsoft pellet broke the Rubbermaid, and the water ended up in, of all the rooms, right next to the piano. The elegant room, the piano room. So, yeah. But shooting's fun. And live ammo, pellets, whatever it is, just... I think the appeal to me is the skill set. Like, you're not going to do it randomly. You have to know what you're doing. You know what I mean? It just adds a different element than, but even like the video game guns and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I get it. Good for you for starting an airsoft company. So how did that come about?
Oh man, well, firstly, I'm not going to leave you hanging with your own embarrassing airsoft story. I have to tell you my own one. So when I was real young, I had the
I'm not
dream.
really
so
to be honest, I thought it was a good idea. Like,
yeah, me too. Well, either way, I'm gonna share some embarrassing stuff with you. So yeah, young lad. We'd just been away on holiday for about a week, and I'd left my beloved VSR 10 sniper rifle back at home, and it was like my dream because it was the YouTuber who I loved. He'd been using that one, and I got it. And anyway, I got home, couldn't wait to get my hands back on it, and as any young kid would do, you don't really check for all the safety stuff before you pick up the airsoft gun, do you? So I went and immediately, checked the trigger was still working and found there was a bullet still in the chamber. And then obviously the barrel was facing towards my bedroom window and planted a hole straight through the glass pane. And
I'm glad.
well, you have no idea how yeah, literally, you have no idea how difficult it was to explain that to the parents. But yeah, so that's my start of airsoft, I guess. So we're going to ignore that bit. But anyway, the business side of things. So
you at least used a gun, and it was an accident. If you want to ask my mom, I may or may not have had a little bit too much candy one Easter, and they sent me to my room for breaking a window with apparently some wood lying around outside. Now, who would be leaving wood around? Like, probably not a full 2x4, but a chunk of a 2x4. And I thought playing in the yard and throwing it through the window on Easter would be a good idea. Now, that wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. Why that was a good idea, don't remember. But you know the dumber thing after?
Go on.
They said, go to your room and take your candy with you. You're just giving me a holiday right here. Like, you want me to not talk to anyone, go in my room where there's video games with a basket full of chocolate? Okay, sold. Yeah, but I will say, when you said, yeah, you didn't realize there was something in the chamber, I'm like, oh God, please don't let anyone have been hurt. So sorry for the window, but
No, yeah, there was yeah, we learned from our mistakes, and that was one of them. But yeah, so in terms
But
of
hey,
the
you
airsoft
started a
business stuff,
company around
man,
it.
yeah, man, it was so I think this ties into a message I want to portray here, I think, as well. So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to say that I
Please.
think when you start something that you're passionate about and you go and monetize something that you have passion for, you do such a good job of it because you know your industry and you know your craft off by heart. So for me, that was seeing something I'd bought on a manufacturer's website to do with like a part, going for about 10 times the price I'd bought it for just a few weeks earlier. Now it was like a plastic grip or something. And, there it was with, it was on my rifle, 12, 13 pounds, probably about $16 for you guys, I guess. And then I saw it on this website for about 50p, but you had to buy 10 of them. So I thought, nah, this can't be the same thing. It's just some knockoff. It's some
Oh,
cheap
it's just
quality
wholesale.
rubbish. Exactly. But, young me, I didn't really realize that back then. So I bought 10 and thought, hey, you know what? Worst case, I've spent £5. Okay, fine. So they arrive. They are literally spitting image of the other one, exact same thing. So I go to eBay and I put them on there and they're gone in like a day. And so then I order some more and same thing happens. Then I go to that manufacturer's website, have a better look at it, and I buy some other types of it too. So then I've got, I build up to about 20, 30 a day, like in a week. And
Wow.
it's crazy. And so, but what I didn't realize was the reason why I was doing so well with it was because no one else was doing it because it actually wasn't strictly speaking allowed on eBay. But I didn't realize that. So I started getting these action strikes and stuff. And I was wondering why. And basically, the long story short, without complaining too much, is that on eBay, you're not allowed to list something that could technically be used on a real firearm too, although it's literally a toy replica. So there you go. Anyway, there's me with about 80 of these foregrips at home that have just arrived from overseas, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do with it? So I go to Instagram, which is a platform I obviously, as a Gen Z, very familiar with Instagram, went and built an airsoft account, got in touch with a load of people, network, eventually built my own website and just listed these grips on there and started making connections with people and did this thing called an ambassador program where I offer people like discounts and stuff if they support the business in the early stages. Started doing really well. And then I started expanding the product range again and upgraded my website, which I built all myself. The Instagram
Very
following
impressive.
skyrocketed. And then I innovated my own product. And then it just went wild.
So you used Instagram, and is that where you built your following too? Because I know you have a pretty substantial following on there as well as YouTube.
Yeah. So Instagram's a great tool. It really is. So I mean, Shopify, great platform to run a website through because it tells you where stuff's coming from. So you can see where these links are coming from and where these referrals are coming from. Man, like 70% of my sales were coming through Instagram.
Wow.
I didn't even realize it, but I was sinking a lot of money into Google ads. And then when I actually started looking at the analytics stuff, I was making so many sales just through making Instagram posts. And because I knew what I was doing with the account, I
And
was
to be
going onto
clear
the
with
top of the
anyone
hashtags.
listening, you're not saying Instagram ads versus Google ads. You're saying organic Instagram
Yeah.
just from free posting versus ad spend on Google.
Yeah. So like I didn't have a business loan. I didn't have a startup fund. I had like a couple of hundred, pounds to make a business out of, and I had to figure out how I'm going to get top quality results out of, budget budget spend basically. And the way I did this was through literally optimizing the organic growth of my Instagram account. And another thing too, which I'll get into in just a second. So the first thing I did was just research. How the hell can I get myself onto the top of the hashtags? And how can I blow this account up so that it's in front of as many people as possible when I just click post? Free engagement. So that's the one thing I did to start with, just figured out how to grow the account, how to get the posts at the top and what to do. And it's actually quite simple. It's different now, it's harder, but when it was back then, a couple of years ago, it was a little bit easier. The other thing I did was I spoke to a lot of people and I got these people on, like I mentioned, ambassadors. So I'd offer them 15% off personally in the store, 10% off for their followers with custom links and to be part of like the ambassador community, and they get the patches to put on their gear and everything. And the trade-off was that they would repost everything I post. If I launched a product, they would post it.
Oh,
And if I made a story, they would share it, and they would just actively promote it at the sites and the game days and everything. And, in the first few months, just spamming these messages out to accounts, because airsoft is a pretty tightly packed community. It's one of those really niche sports. So it just blew up. And I had about 150 of these people doing that in the team in the first few months. And
wow.
man, that
That's a
just
lot.
skyrocketed it. So that's just so much free engagement. And then obviously that traffic turns into an email list, and then sky's the limit. You do what you got to do with that list.
So I got to ask you, because you're just very nonchalantly talking about what I've heard people talk about for years. And in some cases, I can think of specific people who have heard it for over 10 years and they're still trying to figure it out. And you're like, well, I just used common sense. There was a need here and this and that. And I just did what everyone does on social and this and that. But that ambassador, it's very impressive because a lot of people don't realize the power with ambassadors, partners, affiliate, joint venture, whatever you want to call it. And for us, being a publisher, book launches. I have it in my book. It's chapter 6. No, chapter 5, end of chapter 5. Build a launch team. Most people never talk about the launch, and then, or they talk about the launch the day before, and they never rally anyone around it. And even if you only have 100 people, and we were talking about this, the size of someone's audience. I've had people on the show with 1 million people. I've had people on the show with 1,000. But you have to remember, even listeners of the show, if you were to put 1,000 people in a room, that's a huge room of people to talk to. So even if you got 10% of that, so good on you, because 150 ambassadors, some people only have 2, 3, 4, 500 people, and to get that percentage of them actually promoting it, because I know people with 10,000 people on their list and they're like, only got 23 people to help. Well, 23 is better than none, number one. And number two, you have their audience. You don't need 10,000 ambassadors. I would take 10 with the right people that want to support the mission, that want to help. They're doing it for the right reasons and have enough of an audience. I don't even want to give any metrics to it, because same thing with podcasts like we both have. They're about the sponsorships. They're like, oh, you don't have 10,000 listeners or whatever. Well, most people don't statistically. But 200 people, like an airsoft podcast on airsoft stuff running airsoft ads, 200 people is going to be a game changer versus 20,000 of just lukewarm or whatever. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, think about it like this. So what you said was spot on, but when you take these people, what you're doing when you bring them on board into a team thing is you're giving them an experience rather than just they go to the website, they order something, they get something, and they're happy. You're bringing them onto your team. And what does that mean? Okay, so you may think, okay, it's great, you just got another number to the metric. No. You've got a returning customer. So that's one thing. The second thing you've got is someone who is going to repeatedly repost your stuff. So let's say that person's got 500 followers or whatever, but they're making good content. Okay, so they're making good photos, they're taking good photos, even if they're like a slightly smaller account, a couple of thousand followers, even a few hundred, they're making good content. You know that there's a few good benefits that are going to come from that. One, they're going to grow that following over time, so you can invest in them a little bit to start with. So, hey, you've got 500 followers now, but you're making some great stuff. Give it a year. If we can get you on board now, give it a year and some support and stuff, then you're going to have a much bigger following, and it's going to be better for us too. The other thing as well is that their photos, you can use them too. So you just need to tag them with credit. It benefits them because they get, tapped into your following and they get followers out of it. But you've got a myriad of content coming in from 150 people. Where do you look? Like, which account do you want to post today? So you've got so much content coming in, which just feeds into that algorithm, that daily post, keeping consistent and just constantly repeating that cycle. So you're getting content from them, you're getting more repeat customers. And honestly, it's so easy. I can go on my phone like right now and I would send 10 of these pretty much copy and paste messages to 10 accounts that I think that looks good. He's making good content or she's making good content. And I'll get
so you're just doing
4
cold
of them back.
outreach for you're saying out of 10 and you'll get 4?
Yeah, I mean, probably if I sent 10 out in the next half an hour or something, there would be 3 or 4 of them who would be, yeah, absolutely for it. And
And it's
within a
basically
day,
just cold
mm,
outreach, organic
yeah.
outreach. Hey, saw what you're doing. I like it. Would love to talk more, something like that.
Well, look, so I'd cold approach and I'd say, and this is not a lie, by the way. I know it's a largely copy and paste template message, but the morals remain the same. I see an account that makes good content. They're doing good stuff. They've got nice kit. They've got room for a patch. Um, I see that, and I send them this message. And hey, look, I've just seen your account. I love what I see. You're making great content. I have a feeling your page is going to go big, and I'd like to get on board with you right here. If you'd like to join the team, sort of thing, we have this amount off for your own personal sales and anything you want, and we'll send you some free kits and patches and everything, and 10% off of this code and discount link and everything like that too over there. And more often than not, they're at least very interested, or they come back straight away, and within a day, typically they would have placed an order or something, and then it just feeds into it. So they get a piece of equipment, you get photos from them, you post it,
Okay.
and then you can grow
And
your
do you say
account.
anything about being a partner or cross promote
You
initially?
have to be a little bit careful. At the beginning, I never say anything about sponsor. I'm not sponsored, and I think that's important to note, because when you're a sponsor of someone, you're expecting them to pay you somehow or something monetary.
Okay.
This is more of a collaboration more than anything, and someone who's almost like an affiliate.
Yeah.
So they are then actively promoting your stuff. They're getting some free bits and bobs
But
if
do
they
you
want it, but
say
you're not.
I wanted to offer you an invite to join our affiliate program. You'll get 10-15% off this and
Yeah,
that. Okay.
that's it. Yeah, straight right off the bat, just tell them what you're offering, and then you just filter through people who are going to be kind of flagging, basically, or anyone who wants to actually get something done properly. And truth be told, nowadays with Instagram, I use this every day for my personal Instagram stuff with the podcast, but I use it also now with the business, with the airsoft business. Instagram's got collaborator posts, guys. Like, you can collaborate with other people's accounts. So when you have that guy or that gal in the airsoft community who's got a great photo, they sent you some content, and they've got 2,500 followers, and their kit looks really good. You can then share that post with them, collaborate with them, and tag your products on the thing, so that anyone of their followers who clicks or sees that post, or your followers, they then see all the products that they're wearing or using in that post, and they also see your
I
account right there
haven't done a
too.
lot with it, but I have seen it, and it is pretty cool that the platform is making it easier to do collaborative stuff, because I think they know the same thing you do, that this is the way it works best.
Collaborators are massive. So something I'm just gonna say quickly that I've done recently, a little industry secret. Yeah, it's a great podcast you got going, so I got to share the good stuff. So I did a podcast with a guy called, his name is Samuel Raz Larson. He's the F-22 demo pilot in the United States.
Oh
He's a
my
very
gosh,
cool guy.
Raz.
Yeah, do you know him?
Was he the one that was teaching at MIT? I
Um,
think he said he actually flies, but also does training and diagnostics. I remember the name. I watched this video of him. I want to pull it up. That is so cool. The Raptors are.
It's good stuff. Yeah, Raz, he's a great guy. He's the current demo pilot of the demo season, and me, I'm a bit of an aviation nut, but so I had this podcast with him, and then I made these short clips, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to collaborate with him. But what I did was I reached out to theme pages. So I reached out to a ton of people and theme pages who repost the aviation stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, these guys who have, 2 of them have 1.6 million followers. A couple of them have 290,000. A few of them have 500,000. And I just reached out to them saying, look, I did this podcast with this guy who they post videos of regularly, and I'm making short clips out of it. Going to collaborate with him. Would you like to be a collaborator on this post too? Because it's going to be super relevant to your audience. So I've gone to the theme pages. Then I've got like 5 collaborators per post with about 3.5 million accounts reach on these little things, which then just boost the podcast. But you can do that with anything. So I've started doing this recently. You can tag up to 5 collaborators per post. Dude, if you can get a few theme pages or other pages that have hundreds of thousands of followers on there, then you're just piggybacking off other people's following. It's so easy.
Yeah, even 100,000 a piece at 5. That's still 500,000 reach.
Yeah. It's great. So yeah, I've been doing that recently, and some of the people who I've spoken to from these theme pages who run them, great people, and they wanted to do some more. So yeah, I post some aviation clips now and then too, and it just feeds into the views, it feeds the metrics, and it just boosts the page. So collaboration, ambassadors, all ties back into it. I think when you can touch into people, not even on like the large scale, you didn't have to have, like you said, you didn't have to have 1,000, 2,000 ambassadors. If you have 150 quality ones, you push your product and your offer or your service to a lot of people, and they actively make great content for you to post that you can share and benefit from and put on the website and stuff, which just adds to the visual aspect of it. You got a team of good people on there. So yeah, that's something that I think I wish people did more. People are very fixated on affiliate stuff now, but I think people should be a little bit more old school too, with just getting people onto a team of people and making them feel like they're in a team rather than just a monetary thing like an affiliate program.
I agree, and I'm glad you're talking on this because there's something about the business. I heard this recently and I've been taking it to heart. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a team. And just like jets, I think it's why we both like them because they're fast and fun. And oh my gosh, you had an F-20. Okay, I have this obsession with F-22s and the stealth bombers and all kinds of stuff. But focus, we're having a good show here. I really, really want to go off on a tangent for like 4 hours with you, though. Um, you have to remember it's a business, and it's like you can. I know people that have like steamrolled over. They go, "Oh, I did X amount of dollars this month in business," because it's always a metric, it's a revenue, whatever. But then it's like they just shot themselves in the no pun intended, shot themselves in the foot for like the next 3 to 5 years unless they change town because they steamrolled over people or screwed them over to get there. And it's like if you just help people along the way. I've been doing this for a little bit, and I remember sitting there crying when I started the business going, how the hell am I going to pull this off? And it was like, here's some things I'm not budging on. And it's just common sense, moral, do the right stuff, like I'm always going to put the client first. I'm always going to go above and beyond. Like, you know, I I can't compete with this $10 million company now. I probably had $11 to my name, but I'm like, I can still outdo them. I can give the person a better experience. I can do this. I made this list of what I could do that until I got to that point. And the reality is, it doesn't matter how much you have if you just do the right thing and over deliver and, like you're saying, build the team and actually give them something worthwhile. Oh, be an affiliate, you'll get $2 off this $5,000. I've seen people do that. I'm like, think about what's in it for them. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if you're trying to ask them for help, like don't be generous with what you're offering them. There's people who are going to want to do it anyway, but I think it goes to show more about the person or the entrepreneur. Like, hey, I actually do want to partner with you. Well, when you read the affiliate agreement or you read the partnership agreement or whatever, it will show who's in favor. And I tell our authors the same thing when we tell them to go, what is the bonus resources with the book to buy yours? Make it something juicy that's worthwhile. Don't just have, well, you'll get a free bookmark. Like, who cares? No, you should still have
Yeah.
one, but not the
Mm.
only thing. I remember being at an event and the person on stage was like, I'm a millionaire. I do all these things that, I'm here to serve you and I'm giving back to you by investing in you. And the investment was literally a bookmark, paper, wasn't leather. And I'm like, and everyone at the table was like, does she think like she's being Mother Teresa? Or like everyone was just murmuring about like, is this for real or is this like, it was just weird. So
Yeah, I think two things I want to put forward to what you said there is that I think nowadays, especially in the culture of social media and the way people are going and how easy it is to build businesses now, I think it's very easy to get caught in that little trap of thinking that you've got to have 1 million followers, you've got to have 100,000 in reach for your business, you've got to have all these metrics and this and that. And I think people have just forgot that you can actually be super successful just being the small town like business guy. Like you can actually make a really good business out of just focusing in on a small community. And I think that's what airsoft was for me too. And I think that's why I managed to do so well with it. Like, for example, the very first person who I brought on as an ambassador, I wrote him a handwritten note with one of those grips that I was telling you about. And he, to this day, 3 years later or something, he posts everything every time. We're great friends. And that just goes to show, you build connections with people, even if it's on the small scale. If you can, just like you said, if you can build a great team of people, even if it's small, in a niche little kind of closed off community that's a little bit abstract, but you can do it really well and provide a great product, a great service, and you care. You care about those people that you're serving rather than just, okay, we're going to throw 500 at this ad budget for this month, and they're going to, send a couple of products to these guys for however much to do a video on and everything. I mean, not saying it doesn't work. You can throw money at the fire all you want, and sometimes you're going to do something good with it, and that's what a lot of companies do. But
or put it against the wall and shoot it up.
Yeah, that's true. But my point is that you can do a great job. You can do a great job of a business nowadays, still in a small niche little business, if you have the right ethics, workforce, and you can build a good team of people around it. And it doesn't have to be based on millions of followers and all the social media metrics and stuff. Most of it's fake anyway, right? But
I was going to say, having tons of followers, because you were saying it, a lot of people strive for this millions and thousands of followers and all this. There's a big difference between followers and buyers. Yeah. And I've had tons of people on the show, but I think all of them come back to, and you said it, and it's impressive because I'm running the math here, and you haven't had your business 10 or 20 years. You've had it a couple. So good for you for having the methics and orals, the ethics and morals.
The methics.
starting early on, because I can relate to that. But there was, I might be date myself a little bit here. I'm trying to think of what social was around at the time when I started. Facebook was. I think a lot of them were like starting off, but there was none of the stuff you see now. And it's impressive because I've had people just starting off in their young to mid 20s going, yeah, I did this, and this, but you've been around it for 15 years. You went click, click, you knew the order of how it works and you used it in your favor. My used in my favor was I went to the businesses in person and put FaceTime in with them instead of just calling them on the phone. And I don't think the strategy matters as much as what we're talking about, doing the right thing and what's in their best interest, and just keeping that first and foremost. Sure, it's easier on social. And I was actually going to ask you, because you're talking about sending messages and in the images and text, how much video do you use with all this? Do you ever send personal videos behind the scenes to just say, hey, wanted to connect and offer this, or is it always text?
I think so. Me, like I said, this is one of those things that ties back to what we said, where people have like a strength and a weakness, or they have a load of strengths, a load of weaknesses in their repertoire when we're plopped onto this earth. But for me, doing the video stuff, it was never really my thing. Like, it took me 37 episodes to get a video feed up on my podcast. Like, the last guy I had on before I did that was Jefferson Rogers, and I asked him at the end of the podcast, hey man, so what do you think of the show? Anything you'd improve? And he was like, yeah, man, you did a great job, but you're the first podcast I've been on that didn't have video feed up. I was like, oh boy, okay, gonna have to come out my shell and gonna have to get this video feed going. But yeah, I was never a video feed kind of person, but recently I've kind of discovered the beauty of just little voice notes, and it's easy to do. It doesn't take you long. I think some people find them annoying, and I think some people really like them and they prefer to use them. But I think there's nothing wrong with sending like a little 10-15 second long voice note, just saying, hey, because it's personal. Like, it goes back to what we said about being authentic.
The tone, the inflection, intention, and everything. And I kind of despise text. Like, I don't really text a ton, whether it's actual text or text through Facebook. Like, I'm for sure audio note, video note. If it's like, hey, I can't talk right now, or I know you're going into something, and it's like, I don't want to say the movie. You shouldn't be checking your phone during the movie. But if someone's like, I can't send audio or listen right now, you know, like a business meeting, texting is useful, but I know people that just like text up a storm. It's like, you could have called me and told me this in 45 seconds. Now we're having a half-hour conversation about, like, you know, you reply 5 minutes later, I reply. It's just like, this just took like way too long. So, but that's the beauty of it, is everyone has their own thing. I'm very much pro video. My first book is video marketing for business owners. It's what my background is in all this. I was just curious because I know people that are hardcore advertisers, like we're putting money into it, and they'll split test thousands of dollars a month on a video ad versus photo ad versus text. And it's just interesting to see. I love business because there's no silver bullet. I have successful people like you saying, here's what I do, and I have other people saying the exact opposite, and they're just as successful. And it's like, there's really no wrong way. You have to do what's right for you, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of two things there. So in terms of video feed's massive for me now. Like, it's absolutely crucial because from the video feed, that's how I then make, because think about it. So Instagram, visual, it's not text like X now, or, Twitter formerly. it's visual, it's photos and it's video. So how do you promote a podcast without video feed? Well, you got to do some fancy graphic designs, but ultimately it's never as effective as a good reel
Right.
or
real
a
people.
photo. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing as well is that through having these reels and these clipped up clips from the podcast and stuff, that ties back into what I said. You've then got guests coming on the show of millions of followers, and you've got great clips coming out of the podcast, which you then collaborate with them on, and they want to collaborate with you because it's their content, them speaking good sense, and then that's how you promote the show, and you kind of shamelessly poach a bit into their following. So that's huge. That's absolutely huge to have video feed, especially in something like a talk show or a podcast, I think. Absolutely, man. So yeah,
Yeah,
no,
as
couldn't
much as
agree
I
more.
like the kinetic typography, um, you can do it with any audio and text, but people still like seeing people. It's always going to
Yeah.
win. So I appreciate you sharing some of the strategies. I know we're running low on time here, but I would love to ask you, as a publisher, what books have helped your business the most?
Ooh, good question, my man. Good question. I have to think about that. So, um, helped in what way? Because books is a generalized thing, isn't it? There's books that have helped me like understand me better. There's books that help me in business. Would you
How
like me
about
to
a
give kind
couple
of
of
one from
each?
everything?
Because
Okay, yeah.
as much as I'm pretty hardcore business entrepreneur, I still firm believer in family love, having a good life and all that, and being having that balance too. So I'm opening it up past business books.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's kick it off with business then. So the very first one that really, really benefited me, it's a little bit debatably outdated now, but the principles are so relevant. And that was .com Secrets by Russell
Mm-hmm.
Brunson. Great, great book. The other one I think that I really, really liked, everyone says it, but I mean, it's true. It's a great book. I think it was a 4 hour work week. Was it 7 hour work week? I've lost track of it now.
Four. Tim
Four, the
Ferriss.
4 hour. That's it. So those are two really good business books that I've read. I've read a myriad more of them. But those two really stuck with me. Also, Crush It by Gary Vee. I enjoyed that one a lot too. In
Okay.
terms of like the personal stuff that I really enjoyed, I'm reading Man Down by Mark Ormrod right now, who's a former guest on the podcast, the Royal Marines Commando.
Nice.
Knelt down an IED, lost both his arms. Sorry, both legs, but one arm. So he lost 3 limbs in this IED strike, and has, beat death basically, and has come back and is like an Olympian now. He did the Invictus Games, won a load of gold medals, and he's just the most down to earth guy. But it's funny because he's got all the stories and none of the egos. He's a role model, and his book is great. I'm enjoying that loads. And other than that too, I really enjoyed The Art of War. I think there's a load of good stuff
Oh yeah,
in there as
another
well.
good one.
It's one of those books that you can cherry pick a bit. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. Some of it doesn't make sense, or maybe there's to some smarter people than me. But there's a load of stuff in that book that I thought, that's given me a bit of a
Yeah, and it's
basis
not super
of.
long or in depth. It's in depth, but it's not like a novel or anything. I've read it a couple of times, and then on one of my recent trips, the audiobook was on the flight. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so like every sentence is good. Some books it's like you read a couple pages and then there's the nugget. This was like it's very concentrated, I think is the word I'm looking for.
I had a
Everything's
little
good.
think about I had a little think like I had a bit of time to just really think recently, and something that I spent a lot of time thinking about over the last few days, even like not even too long ago, kind of went into it, was just that being healthy and being successful is incredibly simple. And the truth is that we all know how to do it. To be healthy, you go exercise, you go to the gym, you get fresh air, you get sunlight, you eat the right foods, you don't drink, you don't smoke, blah, blah, blah. We all know this already. Like we all know this stuff. And most of the business principles that I've probably mentioned on here and a lot of people would mention on podcasts and stuff, you've probably heard before. And I feel like we've got a little bit into this kind of a culture now. And something I've been thinking about recently is just that you don't necessarily need another book. You don't necessarily need another podcast. You don't necessarily need another inspirational quote on Instagram. You probably know like what you need to do and stuff. And you just need to go and actually start doing it. Like pick a podcast, pick a guy, pick a gal, someone that inspires you, and just lock in on just the message, like the principles of what they're saying. So someone says, hey, you should get up early in the morning, you should go to the gym, and then you should do this amount of time on work, and you should eat this, and you
Yeah,
should
you got to
live
actually
like
do it
that.
at some point and
Yeah,
implement it.
it's simple. Like I feel like people think that just reading the book and listening to the podcast is enough, but it's not. And they keep looking for the next one.
It's
They
the
look for the
guidebook.
next guy. They
You know,
look
if you
for
want
the
to go on the hike,
nuggets.
here's where you should go, but until you actually take that first step, it's just
Yeah.
theory.
Like they're looking for the nugget. They're looking for the unique piece of advice. They're looking for, I dare say, even like a little way around doing what they know they need to do. And I know that's a bold statement, but the truth is that it's all very simple. It's just very hard to do. Like there's nothing easy about getting up early in the morning. I struggle with it. I'm not an early bird, but
No,
it's a
because
challenge.
it takes you looking at yourself instead of going, oh, here's the secret. If I do this or that, it's on someone else. Once you shift it onto you, it's like, oh, I'm responsible for it. I don't know if I
Yeah.
want all of that. Let's go to another event. Let's go to another thing. But the
Yeah.
power comes from, in my experience, once you do take on the responsibility and actually fix it, it's like, oh, it's like it feels like you keep unlocking unlimited power to keep going, and it gets easier and easier. Because I was the same way. It was just like, I don't want to do this, so I'm not going to do it. But it's like that's the thing that's going to get you what you want.
It's simpler than you think. And that's the truth. It's just hard. so,
I like
so
that.
that's it.
That's a good quote. It's simpler than you
Yeah.
think.
I'm gonna quote that as well. I think it's simpler than you think. It's just hard, but it's true. And I think if there's one thing I could really just portray to people here, that's something that's a byproduct of a load of time walking the plains of Somerset and having to think at night and everything, to kind of pondering over things. And I think that's healthy too. You need to ponder things, but for me, that is just like don't seek out the next best book. Don't seek out the next best podcast. Don't seek out always finding the new thing. Sometimes it's right in front of you, and actually the principles that are going to get you successful, get you healthy, or get you happy, you already know them. You just want to find a little trimming around that, and you just got to pick something, someone, or a principle, or just a set of rules, and you just need to lock in on that. Like I said, I think it's simpler than people think to get successful, and we're looking for complex solutions to simple problems. They're just hard.
I like that. Well, thank you for sharing everything you had, and you're phenomenal. I'm so glad you were able to come on and everything, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future.
Thanks, man. Absolute pleasure. No, like I said, it's great to be the guest. As a host, you spend a lot of time listening and developing. I think the nice thing about being the host as well is that you have a lot of time to think, and you see a lot of people, you get a lot of opinions, you hear a lot of advice, and you get to build your own like mind frame towards things, life, business. And every now and then it's really nice to be able to spew a bit of that out into the world and see what people think of it. So I appreciate you letting me do that today.
Yeah, by all means. All right, Expert Authority World, we have another great episode here today. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day